Are you guys sick of the R-60M doing absolutely nothing and going for literally cigarettes? Well, I am too. Behold the glorious R-73, the best air-to-air missile to ever to air-to-air. So the basis of this video is to talk about the R-73 and comparing it to the DCS model. Of course, yes, you can't really compare those two, but I want to compare them anyway. Other than that, make sure to like and subscribe. Subscribing really does put me into the algorithm, and liking will push this video forward, so I really appreciate it. Anyway, let's get into the video. Now, the MiG-29 in DCS has the R-60M and the R-73, and these are the same ones we have in War Thunder. There's no different variation or whatever. This is the MiG-29A, and this also has the ET, the ER, and the R and the T. Now, one of the reasons the R-73 was removed wasn't because it was overpowered, even though players did think it was overpowered. I'll get to that in a second, but one of the reasons was the flight model wasn't correct on the missile. The thing pulled weirdly. It didn't pull like an R-73, basically. It pulls like it's compressing constantly, which it shouldn't be doing. So yeah, that was a major problem, and you could see that in this little paper Gaijin put out. So not too long ago, I believe this was after the update released, we have a little, I guess, I don't even know what this is, I guess like a will be back R-73 type of deal. It also talks about the R-27 and it's resistant to flares and all that. This I'll probably make another video on later, but what we do have right here is, as for the R-73 missile, we still reserve the right to issue it to an aircraft at any time, but we would not like to issue it in its current form without the necessary improvements that we have in our plans. And those improvements, I believe, are on the flight model, because it was absolutely horrible. Yeah, I mean, sure, it killed people, it still hit people, but the flight model was all off, especially with the H-1S. You couldn't hit certain targets that you should be able to hit with the R-73, and I'll show that in a bit. So just for a little perspective, I'm going to show you this video right here, showing the R-73 and showing how it pulled in the dev server. And let's see, you see launches and it starts to pull a little bit, and then it just goes for flares, right? And you just dump 3 flares. And then we'll also compare this to the DCS flaring and evading and all that. But you can see the pull of the missile wasn't as hard as it should be, and I'll show you the comparison in DCS. Ready, am very urge.
I don't have any missiles, and I've gotten a kill with every single one of them.
Take that, bigot. And take some of this. And take some of that. And take some of this. Don't forget this. I have guns. Take that. That. This.
Turtle.
This. Alright, Amberry. Get ready. Alright, you're cleared out bots whenever. And I'm gonna try to dodge it. Okay. Oh no. Hey, can you get off my... Oh no. Oh no.
Hey, you. You're finally awake. You were trying to cross the border, right?
And bulletproof. Didn't lose any vehicle and destroyed more targets than any other player. Didn't lose any vehicle. Nice.
I think this is a good representation of why they removed the R-73.
I think it's a great representation. Alright, don't fox yet, okay? I'll tell you when you're cleared hot. It's a demonstration, okay? Alright, you cleared the fox. Oh! Good. Oh! Is the game working?
Yeah.
Alright. Merge. There we go.
I didn't get time.
Well, that's what war is like. And that's a cool flanker you got there. Bam. Wait, I need to get more flares. So there's two missile shots that I think demonstrate my point perfectly. So, for example, this is the one in War Thunder, right? We get a lock, and we launch the missile, and we don't see it. It pulls a little bit, and then it goes for flares, right? Okay, let's check the DCS one out. So we see that we get a lock, and we launch, and we see the missile immediately pull over our nose the second the missile comes off the rail. So obviously these are pulling a lot more, or they're just compressing a lot less. Honestly, I do believe it's a little bit of both, and they should be pulling more like the SRAM, but you could see the obvious problem with that in, War Thunder. It's going to be slaughtering people. Now, that's not to mention that the R-60 and the R-73 have similar flare resistance. In DCS, they do not. The R-73 is a little more flare resistant, but for some reason, it will go for flares if you dump enough countermeasures. And a lot of players don't understand that in War Thunder. They just think, oh, it's the R-73, it's going to kill everybody. Yes, it'll kill people if you're not looking, but if you flare and turn off your engine or idle your thrust, you don't even have to turn off the engine, the missile should be able to miss. I mean, now when things like the AIM-9X are added to the game, those are very flare resistant, and also the 9Ms. In fact, on DCS, I have an easier time dodging the R-73 than the 9M, just because the flare resistance. You could dump flares, and R-73 will typically go for the flares, especially if you keep changing the trajectory of the aircraft and idle your throttle. They'll just zip right by. Now, in War Thunder, they were a lot worse, at least on the dev server. You could fox them, and they don't track anything if you dump countermeasures, right? But if you don't dump countermeasures, they'll track the aircraft just fine. But still, they have that compressing issue where they make these wide circles that they don't have to make. They should be able to cut into circles. It should be a hard missile to jam. So, yeah, I mean, we'll see what War Thunder does. They might add the missile back. I think they should. If it has the same flare resistancy, they should definitely add it back, because it was similar to the R-60 in that stance. Not on DCS, of course, but in War Thunder it was. But, yeah, tell me what you guys think in the comments down below. I'd really like to see the R-73 back in the game. This is coming from someone who prefers NATO aircraft. I like the jets. They have good airframes. They get good weapons and technology. But I still think the R-73 should be added to the game. I don't think that's a reason to not add it to the game. It seemed pretty balanced when it was released. Of course, people were getting multiple kills and blah blah blah, but all you have to do is flare, turn off your idle the thrust like any other missile, and make sure you separate your flare, because if you pump too many, it will lead the missile to your aircraft. And that's not to mention we still have the 9L, which is probably the best or most consistent missile, I would say, in the game currently. I wouldn't say it's the best. I would give that to the Magic 2s. But yeah, tell me what you guys think in the comments down below. Please subscribe. It does help the channel a lot. And take care, guys.